Climate Change Conference, COP25, taking place in Madrid, Spain from the 2nd to the 13th of December 2019. The third item that we want to speak to on behalf of Cabinet is the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa BRICS Summit. Cabinet welcomes the outcomes of the 11th BRICS Summit, which took place in Brasilia, Brazil, under the theme Economic Growth for an Innovative Future. President Ramaphosa and other BRICS leaders also interacted with the BRICS Business Council to strengthen and promote economic, trade, business, and investment ties amongst BRICS members. Cabinet welcomes the adoption of the BRICS Summit Declaration by heads of state. The declaration involves a commitment to combat under-invoicing of imported goods and measures to boost global demand and growth. It further cements efforts to further our cooperation on topics which include investment in e-commerce and micro, small, and medium enterprises. South Africa's BRICS membership strategically positions the country towards increased trade, investment, tourism, capacity building, skills and technology transfers, which are key in our drive to address the triple challenge of unemployment, poverty, and inequality facing us as a country. The fourth item we speak to 25 years of freedom. Cabinet welcomes the launch of the 25-year review report booklet, which is the culmination of wide consultations across the country and the continent. The report acknowledges our achievements in restoring the dignity of people and enhancing their access to basic services. Some of the achievements include universal access to basic education, the expansion of access to higher education, access to free health services in the public sector, and implementation of the social wage. Although we have made these remarkable strides over the 25-year period, our economy still needs to be fully transformed and made to work for everyone. Also, the spatial planning that perpetuated the apartheid segregations remain largely unchanged. The report recommends that the country must build on the gains of the past 25 years of democracy, particularly in decisively transforming both our economy and spatial planning of our country. The report can be accessed from the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation website. The fifth item that we would like to speak to is disaster management. Cabinet expresses its condolences to the families of the 14 fellow South Africans who died during the recent storms in KwaZulu-Natal and wishes those injured a speedy recovery. Disaster management services are dealing with the devastation from a tornado which damaged public infrastructure and affected more than 798 households in New Hanover and Bergville in KwaZulu-Natal. South Africans are urged to be vigilant and take the necessary safety precautions as the risk of heavy rains and severe thunderstorms remains in some parts of the country. The sixth item we are speaking to is Eskom. Cabinet has supported the appointment of Mr. Andre de Ruyter as the new Chief Executive Officer of Eskom. The appointment of a permanent CEO is an important first step in strengthening Eskom, dealing decisively with governance and financial management challenges at the utility, which will ensure a stable electricity supply for the nation. Mr. de Ruyter is currently the CEO of packaging company Nampec. He has held senior legal, marketing, and operations positions at Sasol in South Africa, Germany, and China, with his last position at Sasol being the Senior Group Executive Operations. Mr. de Ruyter brings to the position significant international experience, extensive experience of dealing with governments and regulators in a variety of jurisdictions. He brings turnaround skills based on rigorous cost-cutting, margin improvements, and organizational restructuring. He brings a track record of delivering sustainable profits and value for stakeholders. He brings strong strategy and execution competencies with a strategic focus on conceptualizing and integrating corporate operating models and strategic delivery. Cabinet believes that Mr. Director will work with the leadership of Eskom to drive the proposed Eskom interventions as spelled out in the Eskom paper entitled Roadmap for Eskom in a Reformed Electricity Supply Industry. Cabinet will continue to support Eskom in all its endeavors to stabilize its capacity and ability to provide uninterrupted energy supply. The seventh matter we're speaking to is SAA, industrial action. Cabinet appeals to all parties involved in the industrial action at SAA to work together in finding solutions that will be in the best interest of all, and in particular, in the best interest of our country. Whilst the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa of 1996 provides for the right of workers to withhold their labor, we do, however, caution against irresponsible public utterances and threats to the safety of passengers or their families during this time of industrial action. A peaceful and less disruptive manner of resolving disputes is always desirable. Cabinet remains hopeful that an amicable solution will be found to the protracted South African Airways strike. The eighth matter is on foot and mouth disease. Cabinet was briefed on the recent foot and mouth disease in some parts of the country. Whilst the disease does not pose danger to human health, it is highly contagious amongst animals. Cabinet calls on all affected communities in Limpopo to adhere to the safety protocol as a measure to curb the spread of the disease. Farmers, again, particularly in Limpopo, are requested to avoid gathering livestock together for auctions, shows, or other activities. They are also urged to be on the lookout for clinical signs of the disease and contact a veterinarian or animal health professional if necessary. The ninth matter we are speaking to is South Sudan Special Envoy Mission. Cabinet welcomes the progress made towards the total resolution of conflict and bringing stability in South Sudan. South Africa is providing support to all efforts to the implementation of the revitalized agreement on South Sudan in line with the responsibilities of the Special Envoy. Deputy President David Mabuza, in his capacity as Special Envoy to South Sudan, conducted regional consultations with Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and President of the Transitional Sovereign Council of Sudan in Khartoum. The consultation was towards the implementation of the revitalized agreement on resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. The 10th matter we are speaking to is Population and Development Summit. The recent International Conference on Population and Development, ICPD 25 Summit, held in Nairobi, Kenya, gave impetus to the ICPD program of action and built momentum for the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. South Africa underscored its commitment to consolidate achievements on gender equality through the empowerment of women and girls across South Africa with initiatives that include family planning, information and services, zero child and maternal mortality, inclusive of access to sexual and reproductive health rights, as well as strengthening interventions to stop sexual and gender-based violence and femicide, and all harmful practices against women and girls. On cabinet decisions, on the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children campaign, Cabinet joins President Ramaphosa in welcoming the 3 life sentences handed down to the rapist and killer of University of Cape Town student Uyinene Mkhwejana by the Cape High Court. This is one of a number of sentences that were delivered by our courts in the past month. We remain firm that those who commit such heinous crimes against women and children should have no space, no mercy in our society, and must face the full might of the law. South Africa will join the global community in the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children campaign from the 25th of November to the 10th of December, which will be International Human Rights Day, to raise awareness of gender-based violence in the country. Cabinet has endorsed the expansion of the 16 days of activism to the 365 days program that will be sustained by an awareness, support, and education program to stop violence against the vulnerable members of society, in particular women and children. The 16 days of activism, which focuses on heightened mobilization and awareness, will be launched by His Excellency the President of the Republic, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, on the 25th of November in Khasilika village in Limpopo. The theme, Enough is Enough, together fast-tracking implementation to end gender violence, gender-based violence, builds on the progress made in developing a comprehensive, multi-sectoral response to gender-based violence. Cabinet calls on all South Africans to stand up and be counted amongst those who are active in the fight against gender-based violence, to create safer homes, safer communities, and safer public spaces for all. The 12th matter we're speaking to is the audit outcomes as pronounced by the Auditor General. Auditor General Kimi Makwetu briefed the Cabinet on the outcomes of the 2018-19 national and provincial audit results. Cabinet is concerned about the continued increase in material irregularities. 12 entities were selected to be audited on irregular expenditure. 8 of these had material irregularities. 7 were provincial departments in health, human settlement, education, National Department of Water and Sanitation, and National Department of Basic Education, and the state-owned entity Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, PRASA. The Public Audit Amendment Act, which came into effect on the 1st of April 2019, is expected to strengthen the work of the Office of the AG and ensure government begins to deal decisively with departments that continue to disregard the governance framework. To this effect, Cabinet has endorsed the enforcement of this Act, particularly on serious irregularities that require the AG to refer such transgressions for further investigations, inclusive of law enforcement entities. Cabinet remains committed to ensuring clean governance within state-run institutions. The National School of Government has been instructed to provide the necessary training and support to institutions requiring further training on their officials. Those who blatantly violate the public finance management framework will have to face the consequences of abusing state resources. On item 13, we'll deal with the Resistance and Liberation Heritage Route project. Cabinet received a report on the Resistance and Liberation Heritage Route project from Sports and Arts and Culture Minister Nathi Mthembu. The Department of Arts and Culture working together with the National Heritage Council and South African Heritage Resources Agency, will identify, collect, and promote the preservation of our history and those historical sites in the continent which have a link with the South African liberation heritage. The project serves as the country's chapter of the Continental African Liberation Heritage Program. Historical infrastructure and sites have been identified in all the 9 provinces, and some serve as heritage tourism facilities. Cabinet endorsed the 3-year implementation plan that was presented. On bills, we start with the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill of 2019. Cabinet approved the submission of the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill of 2019 to Parliament. The bill consolidates the economic regulation of transport into a single framework. It proposes the establishment of the Transport Economic Regulation and the Transport Economic Council. The bill will be applicable to the aviation, marine, rail, and road transport sectors. The bill went through public consultation twice in 2018. Inputs from the public consultation process have been incorporated into the revised bill. The outcome of implementing this bill will contribute towards Cabinet's efforts to the ease of doing business in South Africa. Businesses will now be subjected to a controlled single tariff structure when engaging with the transportation industry in the country. A neutral structure to oversee this work is proposed to be under the Minister of Transport. Upcoming events, we have the district development model that will be launched soon. His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, will launch the 3rd district development model in the Waterberg district on Tuesday, the 26th of November, 2019, at the Shongwane Sports Ground in Lephalale, Limpopo. The Waterberg area is the largest platinum production area in the province, and the mining of coal and petroleum development has increased demand for the commodity for electricity generation. Lephalale is also home to a variety of agricultural activities. The 16th upcoming matter is the Disability Rights Awareness Month. South Africa commemorates the Disability Rights Awareness Month, which started on the 3rd of November and meant to end on the 3rd of December 2019. The theme for this year is Together Building South Africa, Inclusive of Disability Rights. Government has made progress in providing a social safety net for people with disabilities and continue to forge ahead in its program, which prioritizes the socio-economic inclusion of persons with disabilities. 17, we deal with the World AIDS Day. Deputy President Mabuza, in his capacity as the chairperson of the South African National AIDS Council, will lead the marking of World AIDS Day on the 1st of December 2019 in Orkney, Northwest. The World AIDS Day 2019 theme is Communities Making the Difference. World AIDS Day 2019 is an opportunity for countries globally to reflect on their respective contribution in fighting the spread of HIV and AIDS. This year's theme recognizes the essential role communities have played and continue to play in the HIV and AIDS response. South Africa has been relentless in its mission to turn around the HIV, AIDS, and TB epidemics with notable achievements, which include scientific advances in HIV treatment and more people receiving antiretroviral treatment. Access to antiretroviral treatment therapy in the public health sector has grown from 45,000 6,500 patients in 2004 to over 4.7 million in 2019. This is complemented by behavioral change program, which include regular testing and using female and male condoms to reduce infection rates. On messages, Cabinet has sent its condolences to the Amaxhosa royal family and the community as a whole on the passing of His Majesty King Pendulo Calvin Zwelonke Siqawu. Also, Cabinet has sent its condolences to the family and friends of the seasoned broadcaster and thought leader, Mr. Xolani Gwala. As we all know, President Ramaphosa also declared a special provincial official funeral category 2 for Mr. Gwala. He was buried at Impendle in KwaZulu-Natal on Saturday, the 9th of November 2019. Again, Cabinet sent its condolences to the family and friends of former SABC Group Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Soli Mukwetla. Cabinet has also sent its condolences to the family and friends of businessman, Mr. Alan Gray, who founded the asset management company of the same name. Again, Cabinet sent its condolences to family and friends of the well-known South African writer, activist, and poet, Mr. Sandile Dikeni. Cabinet has also sent its condolences to the family and friends of actor, Mr. Andile Gumbi, who was well known for his roles on Isibaya and The Lion King. And lastly, Cabinet sent its condolences to family and friends of your TV presenter and member of the music group Josie, Mr. Luther Cohen. On congratulations, Cabinet has extended its congratulations to Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development Minister Togo Didiza of being elected chairperson of the African Union Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development in the continent. Again, Cabinet has extended its congratulations to all South Africans who came out in their numbers to welcome our victorious national rugby team, the Springboks, Amabhokobhoko, from the 2019 Rugby World Cup in Japan. Cabinet also extended its congratulations to Brett Binder for emerging victorious as the Malaysian Moto2 Grand Prix winner. We wish him well for the next season when he competes in the Moto GP class with the Red Bull KTM factory racing team. Cabinet has also extended its congratulations to Chad Litlow for winning gold both in the 100 and 200 meters butterfly at the FINA Swimming World Cup in Doha, Qatar. Again, Cabinet has extended its congratulations to Kathleen Rosecrans for qualifying for the 2020 Olympics in Japan after becoming the first South African to win a gold at the 2019 World Artistic Gymnastics Championships. Cabinet also extended its congratulations to Teddy Nzama, who was crowned the 2019 Starbucks Europe, Middle East and Africa Barista Champion International competition held in London. Cabinet has again extended its congratulations to Team South Africa athletes who represented the country at the World Para-Athletics Championships in Dubai. A total of 11 medals, with 2 of these being gold, went to Anrun Weyers, women's 400 meters T47 gold, women's 200-meter T47 silver, women's 100-meter T47 bronze, Ntando Mahlangu, men's 100 T61 gold, Simon Kruger, women's discus F38 silver, Mpumelelo Mhlongo, men's 100-meter T64 silver, men long jump T64 bronze, Carl Ditoit, men's 400-meter T37 bronze, Reinhard Hamann, men's javelin throw F38 bronze, Annika Johanna Pretorius, women's 100-meter T13 bronze, and Cheryl James, women's 400-meter T37 bronze. Again, the cabinet has extended its congratulations to Luyolo Yiba, who was crowned the winner of season 15 of Idols South Africa. On appointments, the Defence Force Service Commission recommendation to cabinet to appoint Advocate Motlapo Josephine Rila Fatatane, Advocate Linda Mbana, and Miss Salome Velma Mabilane was approved. I know it has been quite a long statement, but as a messenger, I had to deliver the statement as crafted by my bosses, the cabinet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. At this point, we will invite questions. I don't know, Lizelle, can I start with you?
Yes, you may. We have 4 hands in Cape Town. We'll start with Paul, Linda, Gay, and then Wendell.
Good morning, Minister. Paul Vecchiota from Bloomberg. The appointment of Mr. Andre de Ruyter as Eskom CEO came as quite a surprise to the markets and many people. About a month ago, you told us Cabinet had approved a name. Was this the same name as Cabinet approved? And then secondly, on the SAA strike, did the Minister of Public Enterprises brief Cabinet on the strike, and did he indicate how long he expected the strike to go on for? Thank you very much.
Linda?
Good morning, Linda Inso, Business Day. Minister, I just don't quite get the name of this transport economic regulation. Is it regulation or regulator?
I think
this
I
economic
should correct myself is regulator.
Regulator, that's
Yes.
good. Thanks. And could you maybe explain what the reasons for why the bill is needed? I mean, what the current situation, what are the problems in the sector that require this single framework? Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Gay Davis, Eyewitness News. Morning, Minister. Cabinet's spoken out about the SAA strike, and we also had the ANC NEC expressing itself on it, didn't we? I just wondered if you're aware that it's being reported that Pravin Gordhan, the Public Enterprises Minister, has been called before the ANC caucus here to answer on SAA. And there have also been statements from the Women's League and the Youth League. I just wondered, in terms of Mr. Gordhan and the government, whether there's firm support both in terms of the appointment of Andre de Ruyter and whatever actions taken regarding SAA. Is everybody on the same page, government and the party? Thanks.
We'll go Wendell, and then we'll slip the 5th one in, which is...
Hi, Minister. Wendell from Reuters. Also on SAA. Just wanting to find out what government's perspective is on what the in-principle position is regarding SAA. will it allow SAA to go into business rescue or liquidation, as has been suggested by the SAA board, if the strike continues? Or will government save SAA and then by extension provide another bailout? And given the fact again that the ministers has said, government has said that there's no money in the fiscus finance and public enterprises. So I'm just trying to find out what is government's in principle position on SAA. Will it allow SAA to fold or to go into business rescue, or will it save SAA? Should the strike continue? The second question is also a recurring theme that cabinet has addressed and government has addressed previously relates to the tension between trade unions and SOEs. So is there a concern that the trade union movement, by virtue of the tripartite alliance, is holding sort of a government at ransom? So if you don't give us what we want, then we'll sort of we'll strike and stuff again. And I'm aware that striking is allowed. I'm not talking about that now. Do you think that the social compact that government has spoken about between government and the labor union is not being fulfilled, and that labor is negotiating mala fides? And so finally, do you think the action that is taking place at SAA is a harbinger for what might happen in future at Eskom? Thank you.
Chair, with your permission, we'll take the last one here before we go back to Pretoria. Jan, you'll be the last one in this round.
Thanks, Minister. Jan de Lange from Rapport. Partly covered by the previous question, but Solidarity announced this morning that they have served papers on government and on SAA, on the DPE and on SAA, for an urgent application for putting SAA into business rescue. Will government oppose this application or not?
That's it.
Thank you very much, Lizelle. Can I give it over to Minister?
Maybe let's start with the appointment of the new CEO at Eskom. Let's assure the nation and everybody that we are on the same page as government. As you all know, this matter has been under discussion for quite some time, and it is our view that you need a leader at the helm to bring stability to Eskom. And from where we are seated, Andre de Ruyter brings in with the necessary expertise to bring this stability in the governance arena, in financial management. He comes quite decorated to fulfill this role. Now, some people have been saying all sorts of things. Maybe let's first start by saying South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. There are some who forgets or who decides to forget that there have been many black CEOs at Eskom. They just decide to forget. In fact, on my count, almost all the CEOs at Eskom have been black since the advent of democracy. Now, those who are screaming and saying that why not a black candidate? Indeed, black candidates have had an opportunity, so this is not reversal of the standing policy of government on transformation, none whatsoever. You look at the boards of all our entities, you look at people we appoint in senior positions, we ensure that the geographic spread of people of our country is represented. So we are fully behind the appointment of Andre de Ruyter, and this is in no way undermining transformative activities that we have undertaken as government. In fact, this is complementing these activities, that we have undertaken of transforming the various entities that fall within government space. As we said, you have had indeed all racial groups who have had their share in the highest levels of leadership of Eskom. So nobody can then say that we have not played our part in transforming Eskom. And therefore, Mr. Andre de Ruyter seems to be indicating that we are anti-transformation. That is far from the truth. Just go and look at the history of appointments at Eskom, the 12 appointments that have been made since democracy, and you will see that we have indeed walked the talk of transformation. We want the best candidate. We want a candidate who will bring stability. We want a candidate who will ensure that governance matters are attended to. We want a candidate who will ensure that financial management challenges at Eskom are attended to. We can assure you, working with the board, you see, other people even forget that there is a board there. This appointment, in fact, is an appointment of the board that just came through the executive authority. The board did the shortlisting. The board did all sorts of interviews and arrived at even the best candidate. But still, the executive authority said, give us your two best candidates. And again, we put in a team at an executive level to say, can we just check whether what the board did is agreeable? And our conclusion was that the board did a wonderful job in arriving at the candidate that we have pronounced to the nation in the name of Andre de Ruyter. We fully agree to this appointment as government, and I can assure you that even the other processes that might not necessarily be at government level have been followed in relation to this appointment. If you want me to elaborate on that, you can talk to me outside of this meeting. SAA strike. Did the minister speak to the cabinet on this? Yes, definitely. He did brief the cabinet on the SA strike, and similarly, he did brief the cabinet on, as we have said, on the appointment of the Eskom CO. Now, the question, maybe as I conclude on Andre de Ruyter, when we said as cabinet before this briefing that we had given the president and the minister the authority to go ahead, did we have these names? No, we did not necessarily have the names. But we knew that the process had indeed been undertaken by the board, and the board had done a sterling job. And we then said, President and the minister, even if you announce before this matter has been brought to cabinet, the actual candidate, you have our permission to do so. So the pronouncement by the Minister of Public Enterprises, having had consultations with the board, having had consultations with the president, had the full support of cabinet. The minister indeed did brief the cabinet about the SAA strike. Now, the problem is that as a country, at times we forget that we are a constitutional state. Our constitution respects the rights of workers. Our constitution respects that from time to time workers can undergo and undertake what is referred to as industrial action. So to us, it's not a new phenomenon, it's not a discovery. It's something that we fully support. The right of all people to engage in activities that are within the framework of our laws. So the strike at SAA is within the framework of the law, and we believe that all those who are on strike, the unions there, and the management there, and all concerned, including the SAA board, we are confident that sooner rather than later, they will find an amicable solution to the matters before them. So that's all that we can do as government. We hope and trust that they'll be able to find each other. If the minister wants any help from his colleagues, we are here. We have said so to the minister, that minister, if you want any help from us, we are here. But of course, we should also congratulate and appreciate that the minister himself has also met with the unions to try and get some solution to the difficulties that are there. So we fully support all the actions and activities that have been taken on both sides to come closer together and probably find common ground sooner rather than later. But that's our prayers, and we hope that they will. Now, on the, maybe as we deal with SAA, we didn't talk about business rescue. We talked about the strike. That's what the minister briefed cabinet about. So, again, let's repeat, our view as cabinet is that we urge, as we have said so in our statement, all parties to find a resolution to the impasse, but also we urge, particularly our colleagues from the unions, that whilst we have a right to strike and take your members out on strike, you don't have a right to threaten South Africans. You don't have that right. In fact, it's criminal to say to people who are boarding SAA that we will visit your homes. That is criminal. And we don't expect matured unions to allow their officials to engage in such criminality. Again, we caution those that have engaged in such talks, that such talks are not in keeping with the rights that all of us fought so much to get. Such talks and such pronouncements deviates from the rights that all of us fought so diligently, the rights that so many of our people died for. Such talks goes against such rights. We are therefore cautioning unions to grab their leaders, some leaders and some commentators by hand and just whisper to them that there are certain things that don't get said. And one of those is that when you are on a strike, you don't threaten the South African community. You don't threaten the South African society. You concentrate on your strike action. It's a matter between you and the employer. Don't bring somebody else. Unless, of course, that somebody else comes in support of your endeavors, not through coercion. You don't do so. I'm able to speak diligently on this because I am from the trade union movement as well. I graduated from there. Bill, on the transport, can we request, I will request my colleague who will be more familiar with the detail of this bill, so that I don't speak out of turn. I will ask my colleague that you know very well. His name is Fixo. Others call him Bagzin. I will ask him to come and speak to you on this bill on the transport matters. Caucus calling Pravin to. By the way, if you are not aware, Minister Pravin Gordhan, like Minister Jackson Mthembu, they are all members of that ANC caucus. So that caucus, in fact, it will be strange for an ANC caucus not to call its own leader and member to explain what's happening at SAA, what's happening with the strike action, and what actions are being taken to bring all parties together. So to us, it's a normal occurrence. We all get called to caucus, so absolutely nothing wrong. The solidarity, we have not heard anything about that. Maybe it's when we see those papers that we might be able to comment on. But as I came here, I've not heard anything about solidarity threatening anything, any action. So I can't comment on that. I hope I've answered everything. If I've not answered everything, by the way, come back again. We'll answer what we have not answered.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'd like to ask if there is anyone in Pretoria, because I think we are just about to have another briefing on PRASA now at 15:15. So if there isn't any question, that should be one. I think we have about 5 minutes to 15:15. Yes, you can.
Before they do so, something that came from that side asking whether trade unions are not holding government ransom. No, that's not our view. It will never be our view. Trade unions have a right to be on strike, as long as such a strike is within the legal framework. So to us, we are not, we don't see these unions as holding government at ransom. By the social compact between labor, business, and government includes the right of workers to get on strike, to withdraw their labor, but includes the right of government and business to lock out workers. So those rights are all part of the social compact that we enjoy. So from where we are seated, we don't see any difficulties. Then, and again, a colleague asked whether what we see happening at SAA, is it not a role play to Eskom? Where I am just an ordinary human being. I am not qualified to be a foreteller. I don't know what will happen tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I can only respond on the basis of what I see happening now.
Untitled Chapter from Jacaranda FM. Sorry if I'm repeating this question, but if you can take us into your confidence, the reports that Minister said if the strike continues to happen at SAA, they might not be able to pay workers this coming month. If you could just elaborate, what were the details that Mr. Pravin put in front of Cabinet, and is it true that if the strike continues, there won't be money in the entity?
I think that's the only one, Minister, because there is another briefing now.
No, I think let's put it in context. The reality is that our economy is not performing. Let's first start there. Our economy is not performing. Similarly, let's leave the strike out for now. Similarly, the very South African Airways is not performing as it should itself. So those are issues that are, of course, of concern to us. Outside of the strike, that the economy is not doing well, we have no money as the state. In fact, we have no money to continue bailing out. This is what the Minister of Finance said. Bailing out any of our entities, including SAA. You'll remember that we have bailed out SAA quite a few times. We don't have such money now. But that has nothing to do with the strike. That is factual. That is fact. That government has no money to bail out SAA. Government has no money to bail out Eskom and any other, or Denel for that matter, and those of SABC who are here, including SABC. We have no money. If you come to us and say that you want money, the Minister of Finance has already spoken on behalf of government that we have no money. As you do whatever it is that you do, you must know that there is absolutely zero in the kitty of government. Government has no money whatsoever. That doesn't stop workers from saying we want a better deal. So we must separate the two. It does. Then, of course, if the management and the board and the workers agree on whatever settlement, the next issue that they'll have to agree on is when do we start? Since we have no money now. It's something that naturally they'll have to look at. But it doesn't mean that the fact that we have no money, it means that colleagues who feel that they are underpaid should not go on strike. It doesn't follow. Colleagues who feel that they are underpaid, who feel that they are not benefiting as they should, indeed the Constitution gives them a right to go on strike. As the details of how such compromises are made in the arena of negotiations, we leave that to the negotiators. We don't get involved in those issues because we are not the government negotiators there. We are not the workers negotiators. Negotiators, everybody will put on the table what is in the kitty when we are now done with the industrial action. What is in the kitty? What can we afford? And by when can we afford what we can afford? But the reality is that the economy is not performing. That's what the Minister of Finance said. SAA has not performed. It has no money. Eskom has not performed. It has no money. That's why we have a new CEO who might probably turn around the fortunes of Eskom. But what we are saying is reality, that there is no money. And indeed, the minister, when briefing cabinet, did dwell on these issues of financial liquidity or non-liquidity of SAA.
Thank you very much, Minister. We've come to the end.
Chairperson?
I think,
Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, we were expecting another round in Cape Town, but may we conclude with two more from Parliament, as the transport briefing has been postponed. So, is it possible? It's just Paul and Lamise.
Okay, let's get that.
Okay, Lamise.
Minister, just wanted to know if Parliament maybe discussed the solution for e-tolls, because the Transport Minister said he would present a proposal to Cabinet.
Should I answer now or wait for the other
Let's take
one?
that other one.
Okay. Paul from Bloomberg again, Minister. Just very quickly, was Cabinet aware of the arrest of Mr. Bongo, especially since he held a very sensitive Cabinet position as State Security Minister? Thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you.
On the second one, no. On the first one of the e-tolls, the Minister will be coming to Cabinet in the next round of Cabinet on the finalization of this matter. We did not engage on it. The Minister will bring a presentation to Cabinet on the e-tolls in the next Cabinet session. No, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Langani from SABC Reading News. Minister, just follow up from my colleague in Cape Town on the arrest of Mr. Bongo. What is your comment on that? Do you have comment with regards to that?
I don't know even whether he's arrested or not. Now, how are you putting it as a fact? I don't know. I've just
he has
said.
appeared in court this morning and was granted a bail of 5,000 rand.
He's a member of Cabinet. By the way, colleagues, you must know, I'm here. He's a member of what? He's a member of what?
He's an MP, not a member of Cabinet. But
Good.
Perhaps
Go to the Speaker.
a former Cabinet Minister.
I don't speak to former Cabinet, I speak to current. Now, if he's not a member of Cabinet, I'm not able to speak on behalf of Cabinet on such a matter, because I think we'll just be going to areas that don't need us. But I think people that can assist you, I can give you pointers. One, the Speaker. If he's in the National Assembly, the Speaker. If he's in the NCOP, the chair of the NCOP. Another pointer, the chief whips. If he's in the governing party, the chief whip of the governing party, her name is Penny Majodina. The person is in the governing party. If he's in the other parties, try the chief whips of the other parties. But as Cabinet, we can't comment on those matters, including the parties, by the way. Go to the parties as well. I don't speak for the party. Go to the parties as well. So I've given you 3 pointers. But Cabinet is neither of the 3.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think we've come to the end of the briefing, and thank you very much for coming. Until next 2 weeks. Thank you. Thanks, Minister.
Siyabonga. Vui vui.